We're now on the elevator going up.
Yep.
This is an elevator going up. It's going to go to the 1,000th story, which is AGI. It's going to go to the moon. Let's consider the moon as AGI. Where are we right now? Are we at 10,000 feet, 100 feet, 30,000 feet where airplanes fly? Nobody knows exactly on the way to AGI, but I can tell you we're on the elevator. We're on the elevator going up. The speed is that much different. You would concur?
Oh, 100%.
This Week in Startups is brought to you by .tech Domains has a new program called Startups.tech, where you can get your company featured on This Week in Startups. Go to startups.tech/Jason to find out how. Notion just launched Notion Projects, which includes new powerful ways to manage projects and leverage the power of their built-in AI features too. Try it for free today at notion.com/twist. And OpenPhone brings your team's business calls, texts, and contacts into one delightful app that works anywhere. Get 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/twist.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. Sunny Madra is back with us. Sandeep, the co-founder of Definitive Intelligence. They provide AI-enhanced data analysis for your public and private company data, including autonomous data science agents, right? That's the thing we're going to talk about. And we've been doing This Week in AI kind of episode every week because Sunny and I are down the rabbit hole. This is not a drill. It's for real. And I am making some great progress over at inside.com on my secret AI projects. Making some progress. I'll show those to you, Sunny, when I see you next week. And let's get right into it. It's demo or die time. We will show you the demos we're doing at youtube.com/thisweekin, or you can just search for This Week in Startups and find this episode. Or if you're on Spotify, we publish video on Spotify. And if you search for This Week in Startups on iTunes, there are 2 different RSS feeds, one for video, one for audio. But we will sportscast it as always. So what do you got for us today, Sunny?
All right. Yeah. I didn't even know that iTunes did video. I got to try it there. I always just watch it on YouTube.
iTunes doesn't do video, but you can publish a second feed with your video file. So they actually do support video, but you have to do a second video file. And then Spotify decided they would come up with their own proprietary way, because they bought The Ringer and Call Her Daddy and all that stuff.
Yep.
And Joe Rogan. So they came up with their own proprietary way to do it. So the industry's kind of in a little bit of a, I don't know.
And then Twitter, I see our stuff going on there.
Yeah. So for Twitter, we will publish the full episode now. Shout out to Elon for supporting that. And they have a mini player. So I don't know if you've had that experience. And then the mini player will play on your iOS device.
Yep.
Outside of it, just like YouTube does.
Yeah, you can be in other apps and watching.
You can be in other apps. Yeah, so that's really a breakthrough. So we are independent what a lot of podcasts do is they only send you to the feed because they want to move up the rankings. We gave up our rankings on iTunes
for distribution.
For distribution, both we gave up all in and for this. So we would probably be, both podcasts would be 3 or 4 higher, but we get, you see the views. The view counts are public. You start getting tens of thousands of views on the YouTube one. On the Twitter ones, you get tens of thousands on the YouTube ones.
YouTube is hundreds of thousands. We get hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, usually. Already. I mean, this shows, This Week in Startups is not meant to be all in. A lot of people are like, This Week in Startups is smaller than all in. The topic of This Week in Startups is a niche topic.
Yep.
Of the more we explain the acronyms and dumb this down, the wider it would get. But we want this to be for the top 5% of the tech audience. This isn't for everybody. This is where we're kind of going deep. If, people who watch this, I have friends who watch it, I don't understand what you're talking about, or I don't understand half of what you're talking about. That's okay.
Yeah.
You'll catch on if you're truly an entrepreneur. If you're not an entrepreneur, there are other entrepreneurial podcasts that are generic. This is deep dive.
Yeah. And we don't do the politics.
There's no politics here. Yeah. I mean, if you want Biden, Ukraine, Hunter, Trump.
All right. Demo time.
Demo or die.
Okay. So this one is cool. And by the way,
Sunny, you want to do this live when we get back, maybe in August?
Yeah.
If I got it, we could just do like an AI demo or die kind of thing.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, in fact, I think, J-Cal, you talked about this particular use case of creating an itinerary using ChatGPT.
Yes, so I have a company doing this.
Yeah. So these guys kind of take it to another level where, and so maybe
what's it called?
So this one's called Copilot to Trip.
Okay.
And so
Copilot to trip.
Yeah. And so I've got one queued up here already, and we can do another one if we want to, but I can say, so, it starts up like it's a chat interface and says, I'm traveling to London from San Francisco. It says, great, London's a vibrant city. How many days will you be there? I say 3 days. And then it comes up with a 3-day plan. And what it does, kind of a little bit more interesting than ChatGPT, is it creates an itinerary, puts it on a map, and then gives you a link to all, like kind of a little bit more detailed link to the different activities it's suggesting. And so,
great.
And it has it in this chat view, and I can click over here into a itinerary view that you could, print out, old school style.
So I see it's saying culture, day 3, culture of London. Start your day with a visit to Tate Modern, 9 a.m. free. 11 a.m. explore the vibrant neighborhood of Shoreditch.
Yep.
Discover a street art scene free. Enjoy a delicious lunch at Borough Market. Visit fascinating natural history museum. Take a relax. This is a little bit too much for me. Take a relaxing boat ride at Regent Canal. Have a memorable dinner at Duck and Waffle. Amazing.
Yeah, and it's, I did it. One's exploring the city. The next day is about royal stuff, and the third day is about culture. And so, I think they do a really, really nice job. And this is like, I think, an interesting way to think about, a lot of people are like, oh my God, like people are just creating wrappers on top of OpenAI. And, I think that does exist. But in this case, these guys are creating additional value where, OpenAI probably doesn't go in terms of getting this level of depth and curating experiences. And then they can fine tune their model over time as well. That's one thing that OpenAI has been heavily talking about, the last couple of weeks, is they're going to enable a fine tuning API. So you can take all these, customizations that you're building around your prompts and everything else and fine tune the model into it so that your results are different than the general OpenAI result.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's pause on that.
Yeah.
OpenAI, the company, is creating a fine-tuning model for their API. So programmers who are using it will then be able to fine-tune it. And fine-tuning here might be, hey, we only want travel locations. Hey, we want to know the cost of it. Hey, we want to block out things that aren't travel, yada, yada. I wonder who gets that learning. Does that learning accrue to the ChatGPT 4.0 model, or do you own it?
So the way they've been explaining it is that you own it. That's something proprietary that you're doing with the model.
Got it.
You are fine-tuning it for your particular use case. And you're, kind of, same way you would do with prompts, but instead of having to do it with the limitation of prompts, you do it sort of over a longer set of time and say, hey, we, eliminate these things, add these things, focus in this type of way. And so that's something that becomes proprietary between you and OpenAI. And I think that's
an issue, because what I saw previously happen was Yelp had that relationship with Google Search.
Okay.
And over time, Google watched what Yelp was putting into the index. They watched how they semantically organized it. They told Yelp, hey, can you put the opening and closing hours, and can you use this kind of data formats, and then eventually they launched the competitor Google. So I would just say eyes wide open to anybody with OpenAI that if you give them the reinforcement data, they're likely to include that in the core model. And then you might be teaching them the roadmap to train their data to then replace you. So
I will say though, JCal, they do a pretty good job of being very explicit to say they have a do not train as part of, if you have an enterprise agreement with them, they explicitly start with a do not train. And then they, make it very clear that they will not train off your data. And so I think that's an and I think they've done that because of the concerns like you've talked about that have happened in the past.
It's just when you're building on another person's platform, understand that what you consider proprietary and what they consider table stakes will change over time. So I'll give another example. When the iPhone came out, people created calculators. One of the best-selling apps in the App Store were calculators and flashlights that would turn on your camera flash permanently. You built apps, and then you saw, and note-taking apps were very big, like Evernote. If you were to look at the Apple Notes app today that comes with your iPhone and the early versions of Evernote, eventually I think the Notes app has become probably on parity with the original version of Evernote.
The Notes app within iOS?
Apple's Notes. Yeah. Now you can share documents in it. It's got, you can put any You can clip
like an
any data into
it. Of Evernote, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say Evernote 2.0 is the equivalent of it. So what Apple did was they said, we will always be a little bit behind you. You will just very slowly add features. The features we saw in communications apps wound up in iMessage, right? Yep. So it's almost like a joke. People who have Android or have other platforms are like, iOS builds natively into their product. 5 or 6 years ago existed as a standalone app. So just be wary of that. You'll have a little bit of a lead. You can always build a vertical thing. Yep. And who knows if ChatGPT will take that same approach and attack these companies. But Copilot to Trip is great.
Yeah, but you're still supporting companies doing this. I think we have, that ecosystem still has a chance to break out, right? Before, the native.
What do you think?
I do. I mean, I think, and I think this is the type of use case that folks should go after, right? That it's not just a straight wrapper around OpenAI. They're creating like an additional data set, some curation, some other things that are there. The way to think about it is, say, let's think about Expedia or Kayak, right? What are those businesses today? They were businesses that understood how to interact with the travel API that was provided by like Sabre. Yes. And then they built an entire set of experiences around that. And now, obviously anybody can go to Sabre and build something, but those guys built businesses. I think it's going to be very similar with OpenAI, where as long as you build some curation and proprietary data sets, which is, they're trying to do around experiences, I think there's still solid opportunity to not get consumed by the Apex aggregator.
.tech Domains is introducing a new program. It's called startups.tech. Let me break it down for you. Basically, they will use this minute or so of ad time to shout out an awesome tech startup that's using the .tech domain. Today's featured startup is called Dealmaker.tech. So let's hear about Dealmaker.tech. Basically, they're making fundraising simple for founders. That sounds good to me. Their platform handles all your documentation, payments, and more. And their upgrade plans even give you access to marketing experts and SEC licensed transfer agents who will help manage your cap tables records. If you're thinking about raising a round, go check out Dealmaker.tech today. Here is your call to action if you want to get featured in this ad. Go to startups.tech/Jason to learn more. Startups, plural, .tech/Jason. Don't wait. Go there now. Get your .tech domain name like I have and go to startups.tech/Jason today. And now let's think about Google Bard.
Yeah.
Do you think Google Bard, if we go to Google Bard and we say, hey, give me an itinerary for my trip to London. Yeah. And it give you the same itinerary. And you say, okay, book me tickets for Big Ben, book me tickets get me a reservation at this restaurant, and then do this for me. Yeah. Do you think that their intention is to have that built into Google Bard? And I think I know your answer.
Yeah, I think
they will want to own that consumer business.
Yeah, let's see. Let's try it here and let's see what it comes up with. We have Google Bard open here. I was going to use it for a different example, but we have it. Look, at the end of the day, the thing about travel is it's highly monetizable, right? It's been probably in the top 3 or 5 monetizing areas of the internet since the beginning of the internet.
Because there's transactions that are big.
Exactly, and so I think you have to really, take a step back, think, will they not do it? No, they're going to do it. The point is, and look, this is incredible, right? We have a startup over here in this tab that created this really nice exploring the city, Royal London, and cultural. And here we have, sort of the top tech company
Google
in the world,
with unlimited resources,
right? Unlimited resources,
inferior.
And look at their kind of morning, arrive and check in your hotel, afternoon, take a bus, get a delicious meal at a pub. Yeah. Right. And so, look, can they bridge that gap? For sure. But I think, this is what entrepreneurship is about. And maybe if these guys do a good job, or, the company you're supporting does a good job, they get acquired, and this is what makes it in there. So I think this is really an interesting time that this is not, this is interesting and it does a half decent job, but it's nowhere near as good as what the Copilot folks have done here.
Yeah. And so you have to be prepared. I think as entrepreneurs, the best advice we give people is build a sticky service where, you're putting in your notes, maybe collaboration, and then you constantly have to be adding new features and studying the customers, and you have to be faster than the incumbents.
Yeah.
I guess the question is
a proprietary data set, like what they've, I like how they've done that, the London, Royal London, and explore London, and then, cultural stuff. I really like, because that's curation that they're doing on top of the models.
Do you think at some point they should take one of the existing LLMs that are out there and train their own. And then they would have even more control of the destiny because Google, let's say this company starts succeeding.
Yeah.
And they raise $25 million and they're making $3 million a month. They got $30 million in revenue. They got $25 million in cash in the bank. Would you advise them if you were an investor on the board?
Yeah.
Would you tell the founder, hey, go take, what's Facebook's language model?
Llama.
Go take Llama.
Yep.
Go find a bunch of proprietary data sets, cut deals with them, go start building your own data sets, and then, do this. It's fine that you built on ChatGPT-4. It's fine that you built on Google's API, but you really want to start investing in a proprietary data set.
I think it's a really good question. The way I kind of give advice to startups is crawl, walk, run. And which phase are you in? So in particular answer to that question, not in the crawl phase or the walk phase, but in the run. So in the crawl, you'll just be burning your energy and cycles trying to do that. And it's a lot of heavy lifting to get that off the ground. Although it's getting easier. LangChain over the last couple of weeks have added much easier support for multiple LLMs. But you want to be in the walk or the run phase, mostly in the run phase of your startup where it's really working, it's scaling, you've got, a lot of customers and revenue. That's when you want to get to that.
So when you have customers, revenue, and resources, aka money, and developers, then you kind of do that. You can build on somebody else's system until such time that you think, giving them the data might be problematic. And that's really, I think, my concern. Maybe I'm a bit paranoid, but if you watch a lot of the things that people were building on top of the Facebook API, they rug pulled everybody.
Yep.
You look at a company like Apple, they wanted to have a thriving ecosystem. You look at a company like YouTube, they want to have a thriving ecosystem. So it's unknown right now if Google and ChatGPT-4 is but two examples, want to be an API provider and they want you to own the customer relationship, or they see themselves as owning the customer relationship and they are the sole source of customer interaction. If we were to look at the two companies, what does your gut tell you? 5 years from now, will these both be consumer products primarily, or will they both be APIs, or will they be both?
Well, they both have a little bit of conflict, right? Because you have Google's cloud business, who is offering, Vertex API, which is their LLM platform, which has Google LLMs and support for other LLMs, most of them outside of OpenAI. And so in that model, if you show up as like a GCP customer, they're saying, hey, kind of like Netflix and AWS, right? But on the same side, Amazon has Amazon Prime Video, which competes with Netflix, which also runs on the same underlying infrastructure. So I think you're going to have these scenarios where your service provider, in this case, like your cloud, is going to be offering you primitives that you're using, but may also be competing with you. And you have to, and what does Netflix win on? Content, user experience, algorithms. And so they don't really worry that they run on AWS in the same way that, Amazon Prime Video does, because they really kind of win out on a better user experience there and content and everything else they're doing.
Yeah. So this is going to be the key case. $20 a month for ChatGPT-4.
Yeah.
That's a big number. Doesn't seem like a big number, but that's not an easy consumer number. That's like Wall Street Journal, the information, like you have to be a deep insider to be able to afford $20 a month, $30 a month for a service, or an enterprise. And even enterprises, they like to pay $8 a month for Slack, not 25, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a very $300 a year is a considered purchase. It's not a mass market product. Google, though, they own consumers and that's their business, and they own advertisers. And I see this as the ultimate advertising. You put together somebody's dossier for their trip and you have a Google wallet, in there, or the credit card information. They're going to start confirming these tickets, I believe.
Yeah.
So that would lead me to, be thoughtful about how much value you're providing. If you can't provide in the specific vertical more value than Google can, that could be, you could be running in front of a freight train.
Yeah, it's going to be competitive, but I do think, like, when I see like this example that we just showed, I think startups are innovating really fast and coming up with better experiences and kind of get out there and monetize users, create those, the simplest experience, like zero friction, click to buy. And like that doesn't exist in Copilot yet today, but in the Copilot to Trip. But I think the faster they do that, the better off they'll be.
Yeah. Okay. What do you got next on our list of demos?
This one's interesting because this one is like, a mix of using two AIs together, one from Google and one from these folks. So this is a service called Hoppy Copy.
Hoppy Copy.
Yeah.
Hoppy Copy, COPY.
Yeah. And in this case, they have a bunch of different creators, but they have a newsletter creator. And I know this one's important because I really like the daily inside newsletter I get. And we got some props on that recently in one of our private chat threads.
Yes, one of our friends.
One of our friends. And so what this one does is it's a newsletter creator. And how this is interesting is they wanted some details. And what I did for the details was, so it said, hey, who is this from? And it said, hey, give me a little bio. And so what I did was I went here and I just said Jason Calacanis bio. And then inside my Google, I have this enabled now, which is their Gen AI. And so I'm just doing a search here for the folks listening. And so it says, do you want a generative AI powered overview of this result? And my search query is Jason Calacanis bio. And
what is this, a toolbar or something?
No,
Wait, this is Google's.
This is just Google.
Oh, this is the Google Labs experiment.
Yeah, exactly. So you can enable
to turn this on, you have to go to that Google. Are they calling it Sandbox? Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
To turn this on.
I think it's called like Google Labs, right? In Google Labs, you go and turn this on, and then inside your search, you get this. Any search you do, you can kind of prepend the results with a generative AI result. And so in this case, there's the standard results below. Wikipedia is the first one for JCal. But up here, what I see is like sort of a summarized one, right? Which is, JCal is an American entrepreneur, angel investor, your birthday here. Hope that's accurate.
Book.
And the book. And, it's even got your net worth on here. Yum. So.
Okay, great.
But,
wow, I'm doing great. Wow.
You're doing great.
Wow. Uber stock's up.
Yeah, exactly. And it talks about, it does a pretty good job. So
yeah, I mean, it's my Wikipedia page, basically.
Yeah. And I didn't have to go there. So I copied that over here. And basically that's what I dumped into the from. And then it said, who is the target audience of this? And I kind of went back into there and I said, audience of the inside.com newsletter. And I did the same thing. I hit generate. And basically, it says, here are the details of the audience for that. And so again, I don't know where it got this from, but
it's hallucination. It's not available anywhere, but yeah, sure.
Okay. But well, maybe tell us, is this accurate to any?
No.
Okay. So dangerous. But
I don't think that's accurate. Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, we should check it. But anyways, yeah, because I was wondering where it got it from, because I don't know if you're publishing where the audience is from.
I'm trying to think if there's a sales document it could have scraped.
Yeah.
It's possible, but unlikely.
All right. And so, anyways, I use that because, I didn't want to write it myself. And then it said topics or interests of this newsletter. And I said latest tech news, right? That's what the inside newsletter is about. And then what it does is it creates like the sections, and then you can have it write them. And so obviously it wanted, a little overview, of JCal. And so it wrote this little blurb here. And so this is the newsletter so I'm in the UI here, and on the left is the proposed sections. On the right are the ones that I'm putting into it. And so on the left here, it's got like a unicorn spotlight that I generated, and then I can push that over into the, into the document, which I have here on the right-hand side. And it's got other suggestions. So I can do a tech news roundup. So if I click this generative write button, it'll go off and it'll start like kind of coming up with the topics for it to talk about. And it's got a whole bunch of different things that come up. It's Startup Spotlight here, Ask Jason Anything.
Book recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. So, exclusive offers.
Basically,
and events.
this will be built into Substack or Beehive. It's basically, these are prompts that will help you brainstorm what to write in your newsletter. So this has previously been done by a newsletter consultant.
Yeah.
Or just a general writer who reads other newsletters, or a consultant might give you this information. Hey, here's some ways for you to brainstorm doing something interesting with your newsletter.
Yeah. And, they just make it super easy, to come up with this Ask Jason Anything section. Yeah. And, you can push that over into the document, and it makes it kind of over there. And I think they've just done a really, really good job of it even came up with the baseline Q&A for this section for Ask Jason Anything.
Yep.
And look, I've never really done a newsletter. You do this as part of your business. So I'll hand it over to you here and say, How do you think about this, and how many people work on this now, and could you guys leverage this tool?
Well, what we do at inside.com is we have verticalized newsletters and we have writers. I think people getting paid $70,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's above average for a starting salary at Business Insider. I think the starting salary at Business Insider is like $50K, $55K. So we call them analysts at our firm. They analyze the news. They put the top 7 news stories in order of importance, and they summarize it with bullet points. A format that Axios, I think, cribbed from us, or maybe people just come to the same idea at the same time. I'm not sure. So that is a pretty cool format. It really involves 2 things. One is curation, going and finding the most interesting stories in the world, and 2, summarizing them, thinking about the reader, and getting them through the newsletter as quick as possible. That was my premise. This has built a couple of $1 million a year business at inside.com with, I think we have 30 newsletters. It's a nice business.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly hard to scale business, and it relies on advertising. People will pay for a newsletter like Casey Newton's, let's say, or somebody's voice, Barry Weiss, if it appeals to them and it's like biased. And when I say biased, it has a point of view. I shouldn't say biased. If it's, got it. So platform is Casey Newton's. Eric Newcomer has one. So you take a top writer, they can get to thousands of paid subscribers, a couple of hundred. My premise with Inside was to do it for verticals. The problem is people aren't willing to pay for that because it's not enough.
Yep.
And so, but it's enough to get an advertising business going. And so what I've been brainstorming on and grinding on, which is a little too soon to announce, is how could AI help this, right? Mm-hmm. And it's obvious that writers are now taking stories and putting them into ChatGPT and saying, summarize them. So if you were to take a story right now and cut and paste it and say, just give me these bullet points, it would not be as good as our writers. In my estimation, it would be 60% as good, 70% as good. When will it be 100% or better? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, you could probably get it to 95% if you just did the work and said, if you took the corpus of inside data and said, here were the stories and here were our summarizations, and use that, and going back to our earlier conversation, to fine tune an existing model to say, this is the format in which we summarize, right? There's some, flavor there that, you obviously inspired and then the team runs with. I think you could get to 95% results pretty quickly.
And how would you do that?
You would
prompt or by making...
You would do this with like creating your own training set, right? So you'd have like, say, 2 sets of data, right? And in many iterations of it. One is the original article and then your summary. And you do that you've done it thousands of times or tens of thousands of times. And you would feed that into this, the fine tuning APIs of these models and say, hey, this is how the inside.com voice summarizes long form articles into our bullet points. And then
how many articles do you need to train it?
The more you give it, the better. And then what do you
think a baseline is for it to understand?
I'd say like 100.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then what you want to do is on top of that, once it's done that, and then as you have it generate new ones, you want to give it what's called like reinforcement learning and say, this is good, this is bad. So further over time, it's also learning that what
software and platform would you use to do that?
I mean, like all of the large scale LLMs that have APIs support this now.
Got it.
And this is tying back to that. This is that fine tuning API, right? And so this is where you would do all that in the fine tuning API. Now, you can do this outside of the models as well, using kind of other frameworks like LangChain, and kind of vector databases to create like a similar experience. But I think the best results will come from the fine tuning APIs of these LLMs.
Fantastic. I run everything on Notion. It's incredible. I've talked about it here hundreds of times. I talk about it on Twitter. I love Notion. Helps me run everything inside our company. But the most important thing, it turns out, it's not just documentation. It's not just reporting, project management. We are increasingly doing more and more complicated, detailed, and collaborative projects. And listen, we are putting on a 200-person event entirely on Notion. Sales, pipeline, AV, checklists, schedules, all of that in one place. And Notion is about to make project management even better. Today, I'm excited to share that they just launched Notion Projects, which includes new, powerful ways to manage projects and leverage the power of their built-in AI features too. Notion Projects combines project management with your docs, knowledge base, and AI so you can stop jumping between tools and stop paying too much for them too. Notion is the critical tool that everybody's using in startup land, and big companies are starting to get into it. I know because I'm starting to have them share collaborative documents with my team. So here's your CTA. Do your most efficient work with Notion Projects. You can try it for free today at notion.com/twist. That's all lowercase letters. Notion.com/TWIST. When you use our link, you support this show and all the people who work on it to bring you all these startup lessons, incredible guests, news programs, AI, all the great stuff going on here. So go right now to notion.com/twist. I think this is going to be not the future of journalism, because in journalism, you have to call people on the phone. So I've been thinking about what is a journalist, right?
Yep.
They should be asking the who, what, when, where, why. That was the original training, and then you interview people who witnessed something, you research it. But what is journalism today? Journalism today is like, I got the who, what, when, where, why from tweets.
Yes.
And then I crafted a story based on tweets or emails to my inbox.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of what journalism has become in the digital era. Journalists don't pick up the phone and talk to people, right? Very few of them do that. And when they do, it's considered like, whoa, that's crazy. I don't know if you saw the San Francisco Chronicles sent 2 reporters down to, is it Honduras or Nicaragua? Where are the drug dealers? Where do they claim the drug dealers in the Tenderloin are from?
Oh,
some
like
town.
MH17, that whole kind of thing?
No, it's not MH17, but they did this incredible article where they went to this country. I think they're Honduran.
Okay.
And they found the town where this was all occurring. And it's Honduras. And so this hometown in San Francisco, drug dealers. So there's this one area there. All of the mansions, and when I say mansions, I mean like an average house in America.
Regular homes, a
regular home in Texas, like a strip home, have Warriors logos. The basketball teams on the outside of the houses of the rich people. They have San Francisco 49ers. It turns out these folks from Honduras who came here to drug deal then take the money back, and then they build themselves mansions, and on the gates they put 49ers logos and the Bay Bridge.
Wow.
And they went there. 2 journalists went there for a little dangerous assignment. Yeah. And this is going to win them a Pulitzer, I predict. That kind of journalism, that's not getting done by AI.
No.
So what I think is like really interesting is how much of journalism, or could journalism be augmented, right? We talk about Copilot. So what's the journalism equivalent of Copilot from, what's the journalism equivalent of GitHub Copilot?
Well, it's interesting that you say it. And so I hadn't thought about it this way till you gave that example. And what probably this will force to happen is, I think, to your point, journalism has gone in a direction where it's mostly summarizations, and it's not and it's not sort of
original reporting,
not original work. Now, if AIs can do the summarizations really well, like we were talking about, it'll force journalists to go back to first principles and create better content, because
that's exactly what's going to happen. Yes.
And I think that's really interesting, because, it's not super exciting when someone is just taking a set of articles and summarizing it and then, putting it together. For me, it's like when they do the real work, like what you talked about, what you showed there. That's what is, why I subscribe to the New York Times or Wall Street Journal. I want to read
original reporting.
Exactly. Yeah. I think
and that's worth paying for. Aggregation is not going to be worth paying for. And so that, unless it's some incredible form of aggregation, if the aggregation was so good that, it knew your next story based on your previous behavior, and like a For You type algorithm like TikTok, maybe on the margins that would be interesting. Like, okay, you've read these 5 stories. We think this is the 6th most interesting one with you based on feeding in your click stream or how much data you put on something. But so anyway, I'm deep in the rabbit hole. If anybody has any ideas of how journalism and AI will change, jason@calacanis.com. I'll take any free ideas or thoughts you have. That's my email for life. What's your next great demo?
All right. Okay, let's keep going here.
And by the way, I think bias is the other thing that I think, could be interesting. And I've been thinking about as a vector.
Awesome. So this is another, interesting kind of demo that
Stable Doodle.
Stable Doodle by Stability AI, which is they create one of these image generation models. And I want to talk about two different things here. One is sort of the capabilities of this. So we've always, done this in a meeting where you're doodling something and say, I really need like a chart that shows something like this, right? And they'd say, they'd kind of say, hey, this is an example of a chart that's rising. So I just doodled a chart here for the folks that are listening. We do this in meetings all the time. And then I gave it a quick description of what I'm looking for. And then I hit generate. And what it will do is it will generate images that are, generated based on that chart. And this could be useful, if you're doing a presentation or something like that, and you're not able to quite describe what you're looking for. You want it in a particular,
Holy
format.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah.
So I started drawing the worst drawing of a bulldog ever.
Oh, wow.
That is like, the jowls of a bulldog. And then I used English bulldog as the prompt, but it got the perspective I was looking for.
Yeah.
And like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
That was kind of the perspective I was looking for.
Yeah.
And this one's not bad either.
Yeah.
And, not bad.
And that's what the doodle helps with. Cause like you could type that in one of these generators, but it'll give you a bulldog in a perspective that you didn't want, right? Like you wanted like a headshot with, kind of lying down. And so, so this is a new addition to their model.
And I just said all white.
Yeah.
And so now I got Uga.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think, this is a superpower again, right? Where combining the, human ability and augmenting it in this kind of way, because, I think a lot of people have been experimenting with the prompts, so they get frustrated because they don't get quite what they want and then they can't fully describe it. I think what you just did there with the bulldog was a, really good example. This is where I think
the voice interaction would go a long way. If I could be talking to this and I'd say, that's a good bulldog, but I want it all white. And can you make it a little more wrinkly?
Yeah.
And I'd like it to have like a more of a smile to its face, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to typos in a prompt. I just want it to change as I speak.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't understand why we lost the voice interface to ChatGPT or to AI.
Yeah.
Siri and Alexa were the start of this, but we don't have it actually, working yet. Here is like an image my guys just created. A man with umbrella in rain next to river. Like for a first shot, not bad. But now what I want to do is fine tune it by talking to the AI. So I would like to encourage people to build voice interaction here so this can move faster.
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect example where talking to a computer doesn't make you look stupid.
Yeah.
Like if I say, hey Siri, call this person, I don't feel stupid because it feels like it's going to be accurate.
Yeah.
When I ask it to order more coffee from, or Alexa to order more coffee, it never gets it right.
Yeah.
But this is an example where talking to a computer because of the ChatGPT and language models could actually be good. I'd like to have a talking shopping experience with Amazon.
Yeah.
Where I just talk to Amazon on my desktop or my phone. Hey, I'm looking for a gadget as a gift for Sunny to thank him for being on the show. I want something that's in the $500 range. And that's fun and interesting. Boom.
Yeah.
And then I say, something more designy, and up the budget to 1,000,
Yeah. I think we're just living off kind of biases from past bad experiences because, and now we're past that. And I think the interface is voice, right? And, Bill Gates has kind of always said this for a long time. And I think we're just going to, I think it's a great idea, like to start that way and then have kind of the back and forth between voice and, sort of like that's the superpower of kind of humans.
Or, like Amazon does this already. I open up Amazon and it's like, order things that you ordered in the past, or here's some things you might like. So they're really using AI on the back end, obviously.
Yep.
And they know that like I've ordered some coffee 10 times in the last 10 years or toothpaste or deodorant. So they're upselling me all the time. Imagine I came there and I was like, and it was like, hey, do you own any pets? And I'm like, yes. What do you own? I own 2 dogs. Oh, what type of dogs do you own? Oh, English bulldogs. How old are they? Oh, one's 2, one's 1. What are their names? Boom. Now, because I'm talking to it and it's just changing the screen. And it's like, oh, do your dogs have any behavior problems? I'm like, yeah, they run away from me. Oh, have you tried a shot collar to train them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, have you tried a clicker and, doing treats? Or do you want to order this book about this? That's the kind of interaction I want to start having. I want it not just to anticipate what I want, but I want it to interview me.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the holy grail. Are you still using your personal phone number at work? At your startup in 2023? Stop. Such a common mistake founders make. But OpenPhone has totally rethought every detail of what a business phone should look like in 2023. OpenPhone makes it so easy to do this and so affordable that you have no excuse. And you really don't want your team using their personal phones for business. Why? Well, it could get creepy. People start texting people on your team. It could be that they leave your company and the salesperson has all of these text threads going with all your clients and they bring them to your competitor. Do you want to deal with this nonsense? You don't. I can tell you OpenPhone is amazing because we use it. Our sales team, our ops teams, we use it daily. We also started using OpenPhone for Angel Summit communications. It's rated #1 on G2 for customer satisfaction. And let me tell you, those G2 rankings, those are dogged battles. If you win that, you really have to be the best. Twist listeners love OpenPhone. My sales team uses it. Ops team uses it. Customer support uses it. And you know what's great about it? You can create a shared phone number like we did for the Angel Summit, with multiple employees being able to field those calls and text and keep it all sorted. It's affordable at just $13 per user per month, but Twist users are going to get 20% off that already ridiculously affordable price for 6 months at openphone.com/twist. And if you got an existing number, OpenPhone will port it over at no extra cost. Head to openphone.com/twist to start your free trial and get 20% off.
And it's interesting you touch on that because that is we touched on this before, I think in previous episode, which is OpenAI's big focus is personalization. Because every time you go back in OpenAI, it sort of resets and you have all your history, but the history is not tied together. And I think that is the next unlock we'll see. And that's when we'll start to see the kind of use cases you're talking about.
And multiplayer mode.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like I want to be in there with my event planning team for All In Summit or for the Angel Summit, and I want to just talk to it. And when I would go in, it's like, okay, All In Summit is 70 days away. Where are you at? What do you want to work on? Speakers, marketing and ticket sales, the website, or the parties. Oh, we're going to work on the parties. Okay, which part of the parties? The location, the food, the entertainment. Oh, I want to work on the entertainment.
Yeah.
And I asked it the other day. I was like, because the first theme is going to be like a James Bond Casino Royale kind of situation. I was like, what themes would you do for this? And what activations would you do? And I gave it a role. You're a party planner. You're pitching somebody who's a hard to please customer. I put in there, and you're going to have to sell them on these ideas. Give me 10 great ideas for activations. It's like a photo booth.
Yeah.
Casino games like roulette. And I was like, that's exactly what we're planning. And I was like, those are obvious ideas. Give me more. And then it gave me some other ones. It's pretty good. Yeah. Hire actors who can play James Bond. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. That was in the back of my mind. Let's get that going.
Nice.
Yeah.
And like you said, you want to keep that contextual in a multiplayer mode. And look, I think that's less than 6 months away. I think these, with the rate things are innovating, these are not things that, I think that are too far away for us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next one.
What's your next one? Yeah.
Okay. This may be the last one for today. And I got one more after that, but we can save it for next week. So this was one I was really impressed by. So I'm just pulling up, Billawal's thread because, he did the hard work here. And this is a little bit of a nod to the enhancements by Bard last week. So they added multimodal, which means you can give it photos and have it give you explanations. And so I thought this was really groundbreaking in terms of...
on Bard, Google's Bard, bard.google.com, you can do multimodal.
Yes.
I can give it an image.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
An image of a tweet, just an image straight, and you can give it like sort of a screenshot of anything you take. And so what Billawal did here, and I just want to give him credit for this, so I don't want to recreate it, is he took some recent memes. And so here's a meme of, that Chris Hurd tweeted, "We're so excited to return to the office because of culture," and it shows like an empty cubicle. And then what he did was he turned around and he asked Bard to explain why this is funny. And Bard writes an explanation, and this is pretty incredible, right? It says, and it explains it's funny because the cubicle is bare bones and nothing's in there, but yet we expect people to come back to work for a vibrant culture. That is really impressive. That it's able to kind of extract that, kind of humor and corporate culture knowledge from that image. So what do you think of that, Jay? And there's a couple other examples here that we'll go to.
This is why the writers and the actors on strike are, I believe, and listen, it's been pretty clear, I'm not a fan of unions. I'm a fan of everybody fighting to get the best deal they can and a competitive environment for labor, just like there's a competitive environment for startups. I understand some people disagree with me on that, but as a high performer, I would rather negotiate the best deal for me than have somebody else negotiate for me. Your mileage may vary. You may have a different explanation. This is why the writers are overestimating their value, and not understanding how quick this is, or the writers are smart and the studios are smart, and that's why they're in a standoff. If you're a comedy writer and you see this explain why this is funny, you should be able to understand that it can do the reverse eventually. If it can explain the joke to you, it can make the next joke.
Okay.
These explanations, I saw that when it went viral, that thread, and it nailed it over and over and over again. It explained the joke. Yeah. And so this is why.
This is a good one, J. Cal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Threads versus Twitter, daily downloads. Right? And it, obviously shows Twitter downloads not really increasing because they didn't do anything, and Threads was going
Twitter
nuts.
Downloads are a flat line because Twitter's been around for X number of years. Everybody's got it installed already.
Yep. And then this is its explanation. This is an image that shows a number of daily downloads for Threads and Twitter. The graph shows a significant surge, over 30 million on July 5th, but then it has declined. The text in the image said it's over, which suggests the author of the image believes that the Threads has failed to compete with Twitter. Yada yada. It's incredible. It's really, really interesting that, this is supported by the data on the graph, which shows that Threads has not been able to maintain the same level of popularity as Twitter. It is, this to me is like really, really the next level stuff. And
it's just getting started. I just had Ryan I just recorded an episode with Ryan from Qualtrics. We were just talking about how this all started in November, December of last year.
Yeah. End of November.
It's July.
Right after
So we'll be at the 1 year anniversary of this, basically at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
In this first year, this has been a chaotic, inspiring, and never-ending series of wow. And it's not ending, folks. What you have to understand, and I also just had Tim Urban from Wait But Why on. Tim Urban made the famous image that said, like, here's progress, and it's like a slow slope of progress, and then there's a human, and then it goes straight skyrocketing up. Yep. Classic hockey stick style. And it says, you are here. Guess what? We're now on the elevator going up.
Yep.
This is an elevator going up. It's going to go to the 1,000th story, which is AGI. It's going to go to the moon. Let's consider the moon as AGI. Where are we right now? Are we at 10,000 feet, 100 feet, 30,000 feet where airplanes fly? Nobody knows exactly on the way to AGI, but I can tell you we're on the elevator. We're on the elevator going up. The speed is that much different. You would concur?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And look, even between November and today, the capabilities that we're seeing in the examples that we're just showing here, the clip art doodle thing.
Yes, that's my point.
This explanation are like what was happening in November was blowing our minds, and now what's happening in July is blowing our minds even again. Yes.
We got on the elevator at Thanksgiving last year when this came out. And at that time, I told everybody in our company, if you're not using this every day, you can't work at this company. Go buy it for $20, get ChatGPT 4, everybody get on the train, get on the elevator, we're going up.
Yep.
And, I think I asked my team, I like to talk about how I manage my companies because sometimes people find that helpful. I told my team now, because of Share GPT being built into ChatGPT, it's a little share icon, and then people can pick up your thread and start working with it.
Yep.
I said, include your links to your Share GPT in your end of day report. So as a remote company, we do a 5-minute start a day. You say what you're going to work on in Slack. We trust you to do the work. We're not monitoring. I don't do keyboard clicks, although I do have some data. It's interesting to think about. And then at the end of the day, I ask you to reply to that and say what you got done and just share it with the team so everybody knows. 5 minutes in the beginning of the day, 5 minutes in the day, and then you get to work from home. The other thing I added to work from home is you got to come to a stand-up with your camera on and be dressed for work and, showered, shaved, whatever. I mean, I technically don't know if you're showering or whatever, but you have to be presentable on camera, I guess, is the ask.
Yep.
So at a certain time, you have to start work. At a certain time, you got to end work, and you got to say what you did. I think that's reasonable, and you get to work from home.
Totally.
And now people are starting to include them. And somebody did a search for the sales team of, hey, All In has sponsorships this time around. We're going to try to sell a couple sponsorships.
Yep.
And in the sponsorship stuff, they just said, hey, what are other conferences that compete with All In Summit or other big tech conferences and business conferences? Who are the sponsors? Put it in a table, put it in a CSV. And, we don't have the ability to compare it to our Pipedrive, which is our CRM. But eventually I want to be able to just say, which of these companies are not in our CRM? Or just, I had somebody doing this already. Who are the advertisers on other business podcasts? Tell us if we've ever talked to them.
Yep.
That'll all be automated,
Yeah. Again, like I'm surprised it's, that's less than 3 months away, that type of functionality. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, where's Pipedrive? Get to work. Like,
they just need to do a plugin. They just need to do an OpenAI plugin.
If they had an OpenAI plugin, we'd be done already. Exactly correct. All right, let's go for our final demo. Great job this week, Sunny.
Yeah. So the final one is, one that I'm actually using. And I was using this because I needed to build a new corporate site for Definitive. And basically it's called 10Web. And what it is, it's folks that kind of like have a website builder, but it's AI driven. And so, you give it your little bit of a description of your company, the products that you have, and it will go and it'll create like the first, kind of the template version of your website for you.
Wow.
And so this ties back into, anyone that's trying to build something that is looking for like a quick way to get off the ground. You can write your summary yourself. You can have it enhanced through one of the choose your AI of choice, generative AI of choice. And then you can take that and stick it in these other tools that can further enhance it, like we were showing you even with Hoppy Copy. And so this is one that, 10Web, I want to give them a shout out. I think they're doing a great job. They made it quite simple. I had just done this quickly before because we needed to create a new corporate website for ourselves. And this, this took me less than 30 seconds to put together. And you can use this as a jump off point for kind of building, your home base for your business.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
So it asks you your business type. I could pick a digital agency. After I said I was creating a digital agency, I could pick this. I think I'm picking the one that you picked.
Yeah, that's the one I picked. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a nice one with tiles. Then I hit next and enter your company name, Calacanis Solutions. We make your dreams into reality.
You can even click that enhance with AI above that if you want. If you go back to Cal, it'll further expand that out for you.
Oh, that's it. Generating. Our digital AI specialist bringing your vision to life. Yeah, great. Even better. Marketing announcement. Service 1.
SEO, newsletter, whatever you want.
Yeah. Service 1. Brand, identity, SEO, content, video. Next. Formal, informal, finalize, boom. Sign up with Google. No, I will not be.
But
yeah, it's great. I mean, these wizards already exist, and Squarespace has got a great wizard, and some other people have great wizards. But adding a little AI magic to it makes it even faster. And then the ability to talk to it. I'm sure Squarespace will have this kind of stuff built in shortly. It's going to. And then I think being able to say, "Hey, talk to it a little bit. Can I make it a little bit more organic looking? Can I make it a little bit,
or enhance
more
this
earthy
section?"
Yes.
Or let's put it, and what they do is like they kind of tie it in. It's like, hey, can you add a blog section or something like that? And I think it really lowers a barrier, and I think it's going to be incredible. Like I said, it's
everything. I literally had this. It's very interesting. I had this internal discussion. I said, put up. We're doing a new accelerator for restaurant startups, like cloud kitchen startups. So I'm doing. We're going to be announcing it next week or whatever. I don't know when this is coming out. But anyway, we're doing this little test where we're going to try to give money to people who want to create restaurant experiences inside of cloud kitchens. And I said, make a website. And then so somebody was using more like hard coding it.
Yeah.
And I was like, stop. And I just told the person running the program, go pick a Squarespace website, use a template, go. And they were 10 hours into building a website. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, did we not? And it was just somebody wanted to be more custom or whatever. And I was like, stop what you're doing. This is not why we're here, is to be website developers.
Yeah.
Squarespace will get us 99% of the way there, and then you customize Squarespace. Do not start with a blank sheet of paper. Stop.
Yeah.
And I think this is where entrepreneurs will learn like a lot of good lessons with AI. 99.9% will be done by, an AI powered service. And you can just go back to your core business, like the travel startup you started at the beginning. All right, listen, time to go. What a great job. Everybody who wants to work with Definitive Intelligence, they're too busy. They got too many customers. No, maybe they'll be able to find a spot on your dance card.
No, we always want to talk to folks.
Always want to talk to customers. Yes. You can email Sunny at definitive.io. Sunny, SUNNY at definitive.io. If you got a demo for Sunny, send it to him. Maybe he'll feature it here. If you're a big customer, boom, I get 5% of any referral. So that's good for me. And we'll see you all next time. I'm joking. I'm an investor. So I kind of get a little bit. We'll see you next time on This Week in AI /Startups. Bye-bye.